Every time I stepped on a football field, I felt magical, untouchable, unbreakable. I felt like a god. I'm Zlatan.
What makes a footballer a legend? Is it trophies, goals, or the fear they strike in defenders? Because Zlatan Ibrahimović had all three, and still he's one of the most controversial names in football history. He's a man who grew up stealing bikes in Sweden and ended up stealing the show on the world's biggest stages. A player who called himself a god, who fought with teammates, coaches, and even entire clubs, and somehow kept proving he was worth every ounce of drama. A lion who refused to play like a man. A striker who made football a war zone. From street fights to bicycle kick goals from another planet, Zlatan's career has always been about one thing: proving everyone wrong. So, just how good was Zlatan actually? Zlatan Ibrahimovic's story doesn't begin on the green grass of football, but on the cold gray streets of Malmö. Born in 1981, the son of a Bosnian father and Croatian mother, Zlatan's childhood was as turbulent as any you'll hear in football. His parents split when he was just 2 years old, his father struggling with alcohol, his mother stretched thin with 5 other children. That meant Zlatan grew up with very little attention and even less discipline. By his teens, he was already infamous in his neighborhood. A street kid, a troublemaker, a boy who stole bikes just for the thrill. If you asked people back in Malmö back then, they'd laugh if you told them this kid would one day light up the San Siro. Zlatan wasn't the kind of boy you bet on. In fact, at 15, he nearly quit football altogether, telling his manager he was ready to work at the docks instead. But here's the twist. Just when it looked like Zlatan was walking away forever, fate pulled him back. Malmö FF weren't ready to let him go. They handed him a contract and convinced him to stay, placing a pen in his hand and asking him to sign. And there, scrawled at the bottom right corner of the page, was a name that the whole football world would come to know: Zlatan Ibrahimović. 3 years later, that troubled kid would step onto the pitch as a professional. But destiny is never kind without first testing you. Malmö were struggling, and Zlatan's debut season ended in regulation. Yet, even then, people watching couldn't shake the feeling this wasn't the end of Zlatan's story. If anything, it was the first chapter of a legend you wouldn't believe was real. By 2001, the secret was out. That kid from Malmö who almost quit football for dock work was now a hot target. And it was Ajax who won the race, signing Zlatan for a record-breaking 8.7 million euros. But here's the thing, Ajax didn't instantly hand him the keys to the kingdom. His first coach, Arrogance, didn't trust him. He left Zlatan on the bench more often, as if this raw, unpredictable striker was too much of a gamble. It looked like Zlatan's dream move might just turn into another dead end. But then, football delivered its first plot twist. Adriance was sacked, and Ronald Koeman came in, a man who saw something different in Zlatan, something dangerous, something uncontrolled. Under Koeman, Zlatan got his chance, and he grabbed it with claws. Within a year, he was scoring in the Champions League, including a dramatic brace against Lyon that turned a toss into a 2-1 win. And that's when Europe started whispering his name. But Zlatan's time in Amsterdam wouldn't just be glorious. It would also be controversial. In 2004, his Dutch teammate Rafael van der Vaart accused him of injuring him on purpose during an international friendly. When Zlatan returned to face NAC Breda, the stadium drowned him in boos. Now you'd think that pressure would crush him, but Zlatan doesn't get crushed. He gets angry. That day, he scored once. Then, in the 76th minute, he picked up the ball, dribbled past not 1, not 2, but 6 defenders, humiliating the same man twice, before beating the keeper and slotting it home. It was outrageous.
Een goal die op de Nederlandse velden wel eens werd gemaakt door Romario. Kunst. Prachtig doelpunt. Een wonder
It
dat
was
hij niet...
pure Zlatan. That goal won Eurosport's Goal of the Season. And when asked about the drama with Van der Vaart, Zlatan shrugged it off. That's his problem. That was the moment the world realized Zlatan wasn't just a striker. He was a lion who played football on his own terms. By 2004, Zlatan's Ajax chapter had closed. His next stop was Juventus. For most strikers, it was a graveyard. For Zlatan, it was a jungle he was about to own. Juventus signed him for 16 million euros. And from the moment he arrived in Turin, he made defenders suffer. Just imagine, towering center backs known for crushing forwards. Yet Zlatan bullied them like rag dolls. In his debut season, he scored 16 goals, becoming Juve's top scorer. Fans called him a warrior. The press called him unpredictable. And Zlatan? He called himself unstoppable. But Italian football had a dark side. In 2006, the Calciopoli scandal exploded, dragging Juventus into disgrace. The club was relegated to Serie B, and legends like Cannavaro, Thuram, and Vieira walked away. Zlatan could have stayed loyal. Instead, he made a decision that would fuel whispers of arrogance for years. He crossed enemy lines and joined Inter Milan. And that's where Zlatan became the lion. At Inter Milan, he didn't just score goals. He owned games. He smashed in volleys, bullied entire defenses, and played with a swagger Italy hadn't seen since Maradona. In 2009, he scored 25 goals in Serie A, winning the Capocannoniere as top scorer. One match against Bologna summed it up. A ridiculous back heel volley from the edge of the box, leaving the keeper frozen. It wasn't just a goal. It was Zlatan saying, "I am different." But here's where it gets a little spicy. While Inter adored him, critics claimed he disappeared in the Champions League, failing to deliver when it mattered most. Zlatan didn't deny it. Instead, he shocked the football world with a move nobody saw coming. He forced a transfer to Barcelona, demanding to play alongside Messi. But in Barcelona, the Lion would finally meet the one man he couldn't tame. When Zlatan forced his way to Barcelona in 2009, it looked like destiny. Imagine it. Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, and now Ibrahimović. Pep Guardiola paid 69 million euros plus Eto'o for him, one of the craziest deals in football history. Barca had tiki-taka. Now they had a giant to finish it. And at first, Zlatan delivered. He scored on debut, rattled in goals in La Liga, and even netted in El Clasico against Real Madrid. Camp Nou roared his name. For a moment, it seemed like Zlatan had found his perfect stage. But then, the cracks appeared. Zlatan was used to being the sun. The team revolved around him. At Barcelona, he was just another star in Pep's carefully designed system. Guardiola wanted him disciplined, pressing high, moving into spaces for Messi. Zlatan? He wanted freedom. He wanted to be Zlatan. And here's where it gets wild. You wouldn't believe what happened next. In one infamous clash, Zlatan stormed into the dressing room, cornered Pep, and spat out, "You bought a Ferrari and you drive it like a Fiat." That line shook football to its core. It was Zlatan in a nutshell, arrogant, unfiltered, but brutally honest. By the end of that season, Zlatan had scored 21 goals, but his relationship with Pep was beyond repair. Messi was the undisputed king of Camp Nou, and Zlatan was the lion locked in a cage. Barcelona won titles, but Zlatan was already plotting his escape. And where would he go? To Italy again. This time to AC Milan, determined to remind the world that he was still untouchable. In 2010, he landed at AC Milan, and from the moment he touched the San Siro pitch, everything changed. Zlatan wasn't there to blend in. He was there to dominate. On his debut, he scored twice. The message was clear. The Lion wasn't done. He was hungrier than ever. And in that very first season, Zlatan dragged Milan to the Serie A title, ending Inter's 5-year stranglehold in Italian football. His goals, assists, and wild presence had turned Milan into warriors again. One game against Lecce became iconic. Milan was down 3-0 at halftime. Zlatan came out like a man possessed, scoring, assisting, planning a comeback that ended 4-3. He wasn't just a striker anymore. He was the engine, the leader, the lion in full roar. By 2011-2012, Zlatan had scored 28 goals in Serie A, finishing as the league's top scorer. The press called him unstoppable. Opponents feared him. And for Milan fans, he was the heartbeat of the club. But here's the twist. Despite conquering Italy again, Zlatan's European curse followed him. In the Champions League, Milan fell short. It was the one blemish critics never let him forget. Great domestically, but not decisive on Europe's biggest nights. Still, Zlatan had rebranded himself. From the Ferrari Pep couldn't drive to the Lion of Milan, his redemption was complete, and soon, another blockbuster move was calling. This time to Paris. In 2012, Paris had gold in its pockets, but no soul on the pitch. Zlatan gave them both. The Qatari owners had money, ambition, and a vision to dominate Europe. But what they didn't have yet was an icon. That changed the moment Zlatan signed. At his unveiling, Zlatan said it best, "I don't know much about League One, but League One knows who I am." Arrogant? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. From day one, he was untouchable. He scored 30 goals in his debut season, turning PSG into serial winners. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the way he did it. Back heels, screamers, volleys, and goals that made crowds gasp. Against England in 2012, he scored that outrageous 35-yard bicycle kick. A goal so impossible that fans still argue if it was real or Zlatan being impossible. Paris had never seen swagger like this. Every week, Zlatan turned League One into his personal playground. He lifted 4 league titles, scored over 150 goals, and became PSG's all-time top scorer until Cavani eventually passed him. Zlatan's aura transformed PSG from just another French club into a global brand. His quotes went viral, his celebrations became legend, and suddenly, Paris was a destination for superstars. Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi all followed later, but Zlatan was the one who lit the torch. Of course, the critics never stopped. They said League One was too easy. They reminded him again, no Champions League trophy. But Zlatan shrugged it off, because when he left in 2016, his farewell was pure theater. "I came as a king, I left as a legend." Only Zlatan could drop a line like that and make it true. When Zlatan joined Manchester United in 2016 at age 34, the public laughed. Too slow, too old, the Premier League will eat him alive. But instead, he ate the league. On his debut in the Community Shield, he scored the winner. Weeks later, he was smashing volleys, headers, and long-range screamers like it was nothing. By mid-season, Zlatan had carried United's attack almost single-handedly, finishing with 28 goals in all competitions. And they were clutch moments. In the 2017 League Cup final against Southampton, Zlatan scored twice, including a thunderous late winner. At Wembley, under pressure, the old lion roared the loudest. Sadly, his run was cut short by a devastating knee injury in the Europa League. Most thought it was career-ending, but Zlatan fought back. He returned briefly, but United had already moved on. Still, he left England with 2 trophies, goals galore, and a message. Age could bend, but Zlatan would never break. His next stop was the most shocking. He went across the Atlantic to Major League Soccer. Zlatan landed in Los Angeles. He announced himself in the Los Angeles Times with a full-page ad. "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." That's not a football transfer. That's a movie premiere. And his debut was absolutely terrifying. Coming on as a sub against LAFC, Zlatan scored a 45-yard thunderbolt that shook the stadium, then won the match with a late header. In just 20 minutes, he became a legend in American soccer. The MSL had seen stars before: Beckham, Henry, Rooney, but none like Zlatan. But behind the arrogance were jaw-dropping numbers: 52 goals in 56 games. He made MLS highlight reels go viral worldwide. Every bicycle kick, every volley, every post-game quote. It was Zlatan's show, and America couldn't get enough. But he never promised forever. After 2 dazzling seasons, he said goodbye with a tweet: "You wanted Zlatan, I gave you Zlatan. Now go back to watching baseball." At 38, most strikers fade into memory. Zlatan did the opposite. He returned to AC Milan and dragged a fallen giant back to life. He scored, he fought, he led. His presence alone transformed Milan from chaos into contenders again. Fans called him the lion who woke the Rossoneri. But here's the kicker. Even in his late 30s, Zlatan was scoring bicycle kicks, bullying defenders half his age, and demanding absolute respect. He wasn't just playing football. He was defying time itself. So, how good was Zlatan actually? Let's strip it down. He won league titles in 4 different countries. He scored over 570 career goals. He played until 41 and still looked unstoppable. Yet he never won the Champions League. That's the one ghost haunting his otherwise godlike career. And maybe that's the beauty of Zlatan. He wasn't about fitting into football's perfect picture. He was a lion in a world of sheep, a man who made you believe that arrogance, when backed up by brilliance, is simply confidence in its purest form. So how good was Zlatan? Good enough to make us watch, argue, cheer, and doubt all at once. And that, my friend, is greatness. Okay, if you made it this far, you're not just a fan, you're a football mind. Smash that like button if you respect football IQ over football edits. And subscribe for more deep dive stories that cut through the noise. Oh, drop a comment. How good was Zlatan in your view? Are you his fan?